And are you refreshed? Good. Now what?
I loved what you always say, and what you've been talking about today about the vortex and focusing on what you want and how to do that. I am actually wondering about kind of the converse, which is prevention. I'm a doctor, and I have been tiptoeing around clinical medicine because I don't want to get in and get sick, make people sicker, be part of that. So I've kind of committed my life right now to medical education. Love that. And I'd like to know how best I could be more effective or most effective, which you may not have an answer because I know I can feel my way that way. It's the fun of it. But B, the opposite side of that same coin, which is how do you live in it, wellness, health, promotion, education, without picking up the opposite side of the stick and getting sick. So many doctors get cancer and diseases, and the one thing they're specializing in is the thing they catches up with them later in life. I think it's because they're sitting in it all day. So
well, you're right.
Question.
You're right, because what you push against is active in your vibration, and law of attraction just yields back to you whatever is active in your vibration. So is your question, how can I participate, how can I be helpful in medicine without getting sick? Or is your question, how can I be helpful in medicine?
I love it. I want it all, really. I think of the broader community a lot, and I feel that my work is more impactful than one-on-one.
Well, you see, you can't be helpful in medicine and get sick.
Really?
If you know what you need to know in order to be helpful, knowing what you know in order to be helpful will keep you from getting sick. You have to believe more in wellness than in sickness, and that's the thing that's screwy with medicine. They've been so busy looking for what's out of balance, even though the physical body is more in balance than anything else. You could take a very sick person, and here's another way of saying it, and then we'll bring it right to this. We've been saying for a while that if your news reports were giving you a fair balance of the well-being that is actually happening around your planet in comparison with the not well-being, that your news broadcast would go across the screen.
Right.
And people would say, what was that? And you could say, that was all the bad news that happened all around the world today. Instead of a 24-hour news cycle where they just keep feeding it to you. And the same thing is true of illness in relationship to wellness. The illness is and the wellness is all of the rest of it, you see. So if you were wanting to be of value to a person or to a entire population of the world, which is your broader perspective that you're reaching for, but let's just talk about one person at a time. If you could visit with one person and you could accurately depict for them the perfectly performing functions of their body in relationship to what's out of balance, you would bring them into the vortex where well-being could then resume for them. We were visiting with a healthcare provider one day saying something sort of like that, and she said, oh, Abraham, I'm not allowed to give false hope.
Right.
And what she was actually saying is, the reality as it stands and the tests that are before me are what I must talk about. And we say, you can't talk about the reality that exists and do anything other than perpetuate more of the reality that exists. You have to bring medicine into the vibrational reality. So how do you do that? Well, as a physician, we would start talking more about the vibration of a being and less about the blood. We would talk more about the vibration of the being and less about the cells. However, let's talk about the cells for a moment. So we began earlier today talking about this a little bit as we were playing with our friend who is worried about the beasts of your planet sometimes not being properly cared for. And we were teasing about how most of you are sort of hard on your own selves, in that you confine them within your own skin and give them so little freedom. But during that conversation, we were talking about how the cells of your body are communicating with the vibrational counterpart. In other words, every consciousness is an extension of non-physical energy, and the cells of your body are extensions of non-physical energy. Now, when we started this conversation, we were talking about chickens or something like that, and we were talking about how, unlike humans, the chicken isn't always trying to define its relationship with other chickens. Seriously, it is defining because it is a beast and because it is more non-physically focused than humans are. It is always reaching for alignment with source, and that is the reason that an animal, now the more domesticated they become, the more they begin to act like you, but the animals are reaching for alignment with the non-physical counterpart and finding it, and therefore doing a better job of thriving than humans are, who are reaching for their alignment with other humans. So you're following this clearly?
Oh, yes.
So now envision the cells of a human body and understand that those cells are individual consciousness who have individual inner cells or inner being cells. And the cells are always reaching to communicate with that non-physical counterpart. Now, what pain is in a physical body? Pain is cell having an experience, and let's say out of balance experience. So the cells having an out of balance experience and asking for balance. The non-physical vibrational cell finds that balance immediately, and if this cell can't come into balance, then there will be a physical sensation that indicates that imbalance. That's what pain is. Pain is the cell reaching, having reached to a more defined place, but the physical aspect not keeping up with it. Now stay with us just a little bit, because what we're saying to you is that the attitude of your patient is the only thing that gets in the way of that cellular communication. So you can see how a cancer would spread, or how a disease would spread, because a cell gets out of whack, tries to find balance, but there's so much confusion or so much anger or so much frustration, so much misalignment in the thinking pattern of the human body that it causes a disallowance of that vibrational communication, which is exactly what all sickness is. So if you could, we talked about this earlier, if you could convey to your patient, I am a physical doctor, and most physical doctors treat physical bodies, and I do. I'm good at it. But I know something about you and your physical body that goes beyond the physical what-isness. The more I look into the physical dynamics of your physical body, the more I've come to know that you and me, all of us, are more vibrational beings than we are physical. And there is a tuning that we can do, and in fact that we must do, and in fact that all well people are doing, whether they know it or not, that I'm going to assist you with. I have lots of medical tools. I understand your body. I went to school for a long time and I learned about it. But I also know that without your cooperation, I cannot address the cellular structure of your body, because when we're talking about the cellular structure, medicine is like medicine with a chainsaw. You and I are going to do a cellular revisiting. I'm going to show you how you can begin to allow your cells to do the work that they were born to do. So I'm going to treat your symptoms. I'm good at that. And I'm going to bring you into as much comfort as I physically can. I was born to do that too. But the most important dynamic of our relationship, physician to patient, is me convincing you of the vibrational aspect of your being and reminding you of the importance of the way you feel. I'm going to show you how your attitude, your mood, affects what's happening in your body. And together, we are going to find improvement, steady improvement. It is my promise to you. I am a physician who never gives false hope. I speak only of what I know, and these things I know. And then you may say the same thing that the greatest healer that you talk about in the Western Hemisphere said, go forth and tell no one. In other words, this is a conversation that we're having. In other words, you don't need them to upset their apple cart. In other words, just convey to them the power of your knowing. And of course, you will find perfect words, even more perfect words than the words that we spoke. But it's pleasing to us to feel you hear and know what we said. You know that.
I do. Thank you. How can I best support my body in this process?
Well, knowing what you know, knowing what we just said to you, there is no reason for you to defend yourself against illness, because illness is a byproduct of being out of the vortex. It's not about, diseases are not disease. There is ease in the vortex and disease not in the vortex. So just tend to your vortex and you will tend to your ease.
Okay.
You see.
Okay. And
the best preventative medicine that you could ever express is vortex therapy. Get in the vortex, get happy. But saying it and teaching someone to do it, it's not quite as easy as we all would like to make it sound, is it? Because what you really have to convince people of is that they cannot let their current reality occupy all of their thoughts.
Yeah.
They have to find
Yeah.
some other way of
Yeah.
approaching things.
that they can release some parts of their belief system all of the time. I think the answer is yes. Do you need to explore as a physician? You talk about vibrational cause in the context of disease, and I automatically think then I need to get well versed in the emotional relationship between what they're living, their disease manifestation, their current disease situation, and their emotions and the emotional, not cause, but causal relationship.
What do you mean by that? You see, we don't do it. You really don't.
I thought you did do that, and I don't think that's a skill that I really have, and I'm wondering if it's something I should focus on developing. But I guess I know the answer is no.
Well, we are not interested, and we don't think you should be interested in what's bothering them.
Yes.
We think it's of value to know that they're bothered.
Yes.
But beyond saying get over it, there's not really a lot you can do. You're not going to move in with them.
Right.
And you really don't want a detailed description of what's bothering them, because then that would drag you out of the vortex.
It's just a distraction, really. Yeah.
And that would be of no value. But it is of enormous benefit for you to hold firm to your knowledge that they have a vibrational distortion going on that is evidenced by their physical condition. And that every physical condition is nothing more than, and we are going to say those words really firmly and loudly, nothing more than a vibrational indicator. Good. And a vibrational indicator is also indicated by emotion.
Yes, got it.
So as you help them to understand that if you can change your emotion, then what it's indicating will change too.
Right.
That's the key.
And I think the real power, or for me, in that is you lighten up the gravity of the disease so much when you just say it's a vibrational indicator. Nothing more than an indicator. It's not your body turning against you. It's just
you can lighten it up even more than we can, because you are I
can blabber on about the science behind it.
You are a perceiver of their body. They trust in your ability to look to the now reality. So as you look at their now reality and you say to them, your now reality is a reflection of an attitude that you've got going on, of a mood that you've got going on, and that mood is a reflection, it's an indicator of some things that you're focused upon, and as you're able to shift your mood, in other words, what you want to convey to them is, if you can improve your emotion, then you figured out how to improve the physical condition. If you can't improve your emotion, then you can't figure out how to improve your physical condition.
Beautiful.
We said to a woman with arthritis that was really hurting her, she said, how can I feel positive when my body hurts so much? And we said, you have to make a separation between the physical pain and your emotional response to it. We said, you could be in pain, you could have a disease and feel hopeful, or you could have a disease and feel fearful. And the vibrational difference between hope and fear is the difference between recovery or not. So yes, from your position of authority that so many of them will be looking to, as you say to them, I'm going to show you how to offer a different vibration, which is going to cause a different response in your mood or attitude. It's also going to cause a different response in what your body's performing, because your body is following the pattern of your thought, which is evidenced by the indication of the disease and the emotion. You want to say to them, when you get vibrationally out of whack, the first thing you do is feel negative emotion. But you're like most people say to them, you felt enough negative emotion that now you disregard it. So you've come to just accept negative emotion as something that everyone feels.
Right.
So you're not letting that vibrational indicator guide you.
Right.
So now a stronger indicator has come on, that's all.
Yes.
And that's what this disease is. It's just a stronger indicator.
Yeah.
So if I can show you, say to them, how to change the indicator, then what it's indicating has to change too. So we're going to approach this sort of from the inside out. We're going to approach this from the vibrational standpoint and say to them, which is really a logical thing, because we're all more vibrational than we are anything else. The cells of your body are talking to one another vibrationally. They are sending little radio signals. And as they're sending little radio signals, when you're happy, you let those signals pass through and your body thrives. But when you're ornery, when you're overwhelmed, when you're overworked, when you're in despair, when you're working too hard, when you don't feel like you're being loved. In other words, and sometimes you've already heard enough that you can pinpoint those emotions really accurately. You block the communication between cells, and when you block the communication between cells, say to them, you should look at any organization that needs communication and the communication is cut off. Chaos ensues. And that's all that's happening in your physical body. You have disrupted cellular communication with your worry about this and that.
Good.
And I'm here to help you restore cellular communication.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jerry.